Well, hello there. Here I am with my June installment of the Buried Earth book project. June 6, 2022. My goodness, this year is going by so quickly. On or around the first day of each month this year, I have been adding a cloth page to the bundle buried under an ancient pear tree in my garden. At the end of the year, I plan to open up the bundle and see what changes the time in the ground has caused. I may repair any damage and will most certainly embellish or alter the cloth in some way, a bit like history. Now let me tell you how this month's page came to be. It started out with these two books that I've been reading lately. They're young adult fiction that were library discards some time ago, and they've been in my collection here for some time. The first one, Witch Child, is told in the form of a diary, and it starts out with a young girl who witnesses her grandmother burned at the stake sometime in the 1600s. And as she's watching her grandmother, she fears that she's going to be next. But someone whisks her out of the crowd, and she ends up on a ship to the Americas, where she finds herself living in a Puritan community in Massachusetts. As I mentioned, the book is told in the form of a diary, and it ends in mid-sentence. And at the end, there is an afterword where a modern-day researcher is asking for people to come forward if they might have any information about any of the characters in the story. Now, it is fiction, but it's kind of told in an interesting way. Now, the second book, Sorceress, sort of takes up where the first book left off. But I think that I'm going to tell you about that book next month because it really fits in well with some of the things that I have planned coming up for the next month, and also, strangely, with some things that are going on in the world these days. So I'm using blanket stitch to attach it to the page, and I'm going to sew all the way around, and then I'll tuck my little message inside and bury the whole thing in the garden, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year when I dig it up. I don't know if the ink that I used is permanent or whether it will run. We'll see. The way that the story was found is it was sewn into a quilt that was handed down through many generations of one family, and in modern times found its way into a university collection. And as the quilt had been damaged, some of the pages of the diary fell out, and then more of the story was uncovered. So the idea of sewing messages or precious things into cloth is something that really intrigues me. My Mennonite mother-in-law's family had found themselves on the wrong side of World War II and had to flee from Eastern Europe. They brought a few family photos and precious things with them, and I'd asked my mother-in-law how they were able to bring those things, how they were able to keep those things safe, and she said that the women would sew them inside their clothes. So the idea of sewing messages into clothes is something that I've been thinking about, and it's something that I think that I'm going to use in some of the pieces that I'm making for my ancestral cloth project. And I thought that it fit well this month. And this little scrap of quilt that I'm using here is actually something that I bought at a Mennonite quilt sale some time ago. It was a quilt top that somebody had made and never finished, and some of the pieces have been used in other projects, and there's this little scrap left, and it felt like this was a good place to use it. And here's the page getting wrapped up to go into the ground for another month. And I'll be back next month to tell you about what I have going on then. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.